Hello, it's me, Beef, and today we're playing on Fifo's realm. Today I have a very special episode because today we're going to be reviewing some of my previous builds. Some of them need some upgrades, some of them need to be completely overhauled. I'm just kind of looking for inspiration for my upcoming videos, and I was hoping you guys could just tag along. First one is right around the corner. This is a dual-dimensional iron farm. At least this is the nether side of the iron farm. Let's just take a look to see if you have any golems cooking. And there they are, frying up nicely. Sometimes this will fill up with so many golems that it completely lags out the game. So you have to come over here periodically and make sure that you wipe this out. And the next one we'll be looking at, and you'll be seeing this throughout the whole episode, is this ice highway. None of the walls are finished. There's like rails and stuff from previous builds that are no longer being used. There's boats that are just laying here. What? Why are you here? What? Okay. So these are shulker boxes filled with TNT. This is for another project we're working on that needs to be completed. And now they're everywhere. And I need this boat. So I guess we're going to clean this up a little bit and let's take a ride. Unfortunately, buddy, there is only enough room for one of us in here. And I've got news for you. It's not going to be you. So, yeah. So let's take a ride down this tunnel and I'll show you some stuff. All this stuff was built before we even beat the game. So this was our mode of transportation before we had elytras. So let's take a look at what we call Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is a dual-dimensional fortress farm that we also use as a wither skull farm. This is very important when you're trying to spawn the wither a bunch of times because you need beacons all over your world because you're crazy. And yeah, this is where it all happens. So let's take a look. Here at the entrance, we also have a froglet farm because that's convenient to have lots of froglets. So we've used the drops from these farms, both the coal and the bones, to build this place. And I think it's pretty nice, but I want to kind of expand it and I want to make it bigger, especially this little hallway with the heart at the end. The plan is to expand the hallway out much further and make the heart maybe 5 or 6 times bigger, so it just kind of disappears into the void almost. But let's go ahead and head on to the top and I'll show you the farm. First, we're going to go into the original storage room. Originally, this was a single dimension farm. All the drops were collected here. And we may even have some drops here still. Let's take a look. That's how you know you're super OP, when you have 2.5 stacks of wither skulls, and you don't even realize that they're there. Like, we've got shulker boxes elsewhere. We got some coal. I'll just take some of that because I want to fix this up on the way out. Yeah, the ghast like to throw fireballs, and bone block and both coal block and bone block are both very flammable. So there's little holes and stuff everywhere here that are kind of bothering me. I got my coal and I got my bone blocks. I'm just going to fix these really quick because that's what you do when you maintain these farms. You just kind of keep them nice and clean. But let me show you this little ditty over here. This is the froglet farm, and what I've done here is I put a snow block here to kill the bigger ones, the bigger what are they called? Magma cream? I'm not sure. And it breaks them down, and then the smaller ones can fall in and they get eaten by the frogs. But let's head up to the top of the farm and I'll show you. It's 25 blocks above the inventory room, and there are 2 kill sites. We're just gonna go up this scaffolding here, and we'll see the portal that they fall into. And then now if I turn around, I placed some glass here to look out into the nether. There's not much to see, but you know, it's not bad. And then this is where it all happens. Basically, there's 2 piglins, each of them sitting in a boat above a hole. And the wither skeletons don't like them and they fall into the hole. They try to get them, and then eventually, this guy's not doing it, but eventually they fall in, and there's actually 2. Originally, this was 2 separate farms that I kind of built together just to kind of maximize the single flat space, since you can't really layer this farm very well. But let's go into the portal and see the other side. This was an absolute nightmare to try to make these portals, but I finally got it. And here we are. So if you take a look at the end of this hallway, you can see some wither skeletons standing on the side of the portal. They're going to fall down through the water. The water is there to kill any blazes that make it through because we're not really concerned about those right here. We've got plenty of blaze farms elsewhere. And you need to charge creepers for this because the drop rate on the skulls is 100% versus looting, which is much less. So we do use looting when we're trying to get lots of coal and stuff, and we're trying to get heads. this is how it's done. And I think I'm going to set this up and let's just blast it one time. All right, locked and loaded. Let's do it. Oh, I think it's lagging a little bit. Let's try to get closer. Let's go. There it is. All right, let's take a look to see what we got. All right, let's see. So this is what I'm talking about. You see how ugly this is? All right, so yeah, we got all the skulls, 56 that time, and a whole bunch of bones are coming through. But you see how ugly the inventory area is and all the other stuff? This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. I want to come back here and we're going to try to maximize efficiency wherever possible. But also we're going to be working on aesthetics just to try to spruce the place up a little bit and hide the redstone whenever possible. So basically I had to build a mob farm out here so I could get a steady stream of creepers, which I immediately strike with lightning and turn into charge creepers, and it makes this farm work well. So the mobs come out through there, and then they come down this little water conveyor, and if I can get down here I'll show you. And then I know I could do this, you know, I know I can let me try to get back up there. I know I can mob proof this so that only creepers come out, but I left this wide open. I kind of enjoy killing them like manually with my bare hand, so I just kind of stand here with a sword and I whack all the non-creepers, and then once it fills up with a bunch of creepers, I'll wait for it to rain, and then I turn them all into charge creepers. Little pro tip for you: when building these mob farms, it's always good to have a piston in the way of the hole where they fall in through, so you can turn it off, do maintenance to your trident killers and whatever else you have to do. Maybe creeper gets in and blows it up. It's nice to be able to close off the top so that mobs don't keep trickling in on top of you. So I always have a piston at that main little pipe just to stop that. I'm realizing that this farm doesn't let spiders down, so this is a pretty inefficient farm. I need to see if I put magma on the top to kill the spiders, because they're not able to get through that one whole drop. But basically you just go down here, you play a little bit of whack-a-mole, just smack them. All the item drops just get destroyed. We don't really care about those in this farm. We're not here for that. But let's get out of here. I want to show you guys the sand duper. That's kind of one of the hardest farms I've built. For whatever reason, I got this crazy idea that I wanted to just collect a whole bunch of sand. So I collected 1,000,000 blocks of sand. It's something like, I think, 20 or like 12 double chests filled with shulker boxes filled with sand. It's kind of hard to say. Sand duper is not very far though. It's actually down the same hallway we came, but to the right. There's actually a fortress farm out here, like another one down the hall as well. An ice lake. There's a lot of different places of interest connected to this hallway. So it's right here around the corner. So if we look here to the left, you'll see the duper in action. Basically, it's a bunch of drip leaves, and every time you go in and out of the portal, it causes the sand on top of the drip leaves, as long as it's powered, to duplicate. So what we do is we drop sand from the nether roof, because we need to be able to keep pushing sand on top of these drip leaves, because every so often the sand just breaks off and it just stays at the top, and it'll despawn if you don't push it off. So the way we solve that is by dropping sand blocks on top of it. It both refills the broken sand and it also pushes the duplicated sand that didn't fall off already off. And then we use mine carts and a lay to pick everything up. So I'm using an array of pistons to push all the sand down, and I'm also using a dispenser to keep throwing sand at me so I can have a constant supply of sand while I'm doing this. Sand gets pushed down here, and the farm inventory is actually at bedrock, so I could probably squeeze in a couple more blocks, but this is pretty good. But this all started off as a ghast farm initially, and it turns out I was in the wrong biome. Joke's on me. I was getting gas, but I was also getting other things, and it just, you know, carts were falling off, so I didn't even finish the other side. I got quite a few gas tiers, but it wasn't worth the time. But the sand duper was pretty awesome. I like this one. So let me just take you down here. This is kind of like the meat and potatoes of it. Down here I have shulker box loaders. I think there's 15 of them. This farm will produce something like maybe 20 stacks of sand per minute. something like that, and I'm not exaggerating. And I think what I want to do to fix this place up is probably going to be just kind of decorating this, because it's kind of really gross. Originally there was, I think, 150 double chests in here, because I started doing this. Let me just see, this is all sand. So I started doing this before we had a light trim up, or shulker boxes or anything. But originally this was all double chests. And then I got shulker boxes, and I came back and I redid it with these 15 shulker box floaters. These are actually, I got these from Silent Whisper. I don't know if this is their original design or not, but they're pretty good. And then I don't know what all these chests are. It looks like I was in the middle of doing it. I think I was doing it, and I had a whole bunch of shulker boxes filled with sand, and then I realized that I had already hit 1 million, and then just like that, I abandoned this place and never looked back. But yeah, I've got sand. But not all of the places of interest are farms. I also have bases. So I want to take you to the ancient city base, where we've unearthed a lot of it. We still have quite a bit to do. But first, let's take a look at this base. This is my original base. This is the aqua base. And I still use it pretty much as my main base. And here is my 1-block portal. If anybody knows how to do this 1-block portal, let me know. I think the mechanics that allowed us to do that no longer are in place, because I haven't been able to recreate it. And we weren't at the village for very long, but I bet you anything there's at least a few golems in there. Let's see what we got. And there's like 4? We weren't there that long. I think it takes about 3 minutes for them to respawn, and they respawn 2 at a time. So yeah, that's what we should expect. But I never really get tired of watching these guys burn, and you should come here often, because if you don't, the nether will fill up with golems, and it gets pretty laggy. I remember one time my brother called me up talking about, like, why is the nether so laggy? And I'm like, just walk towards my base so that all the golems can meet their fate, and it'll be fine in a few minutes. And sure enough, like 10 minutes later, he messaged me that it was already fine. And I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna fly now, but Bedrock has this little bug that you hit the ceiling and you explode on contact. That's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is that all of your gear that you were wearing disappears. All your drops are there, but the gear you were wearing disappears. For this very reason, we actually have backup god armor sets for when our gear disappears into the craziness of Bedrock. But here we are at the portal. Let's go ahead and go to the ancient city now. I hope you guys like it. As you can see, it's pretty well lit at the portal. This is actually has the roof exposed, so we get moonlight and we get sunlight. You take a look over here, you can see a lot of that work now. Let me just take a little fly over here so you can see. We have this completely exposed to the sky. A lot of the machinery that did that is still floating up there. We have to bring it down still, and some of it we have to actually build to extend across the rest of the mountain. We're basically exposing a mountain that's up like 240 all the way down to negative 51. It's a bit much. I worked on it for about 3 months, and I kind of burnt myself out. So I just got to kind of do it for, you know, maybe 1 day a week. I'll come out here and I'll work on it. I just can't do it day in, day out for 3 months again. That was really, really difficult. So we were digging out the one city, and then it turns out that there's another city like 200 blocks away. So all of this space you see here, I have to rebuild that machinery, the TNT flying machines, like 80 blocks lower, or maybe a little bit less, like 40 blocks lower, so I can just carve out the rest of this, so we can start exposing the other city. And not to mention, we have the rest of this city to clean. And if we come up here past these flying machines, we can actually see the outline of the other city. That's what these, let me just get back up there, hold on. See that? Yeah, that right there. So these lights right here, this marks the outline of the other city. And we got to clear this all out. And I got news for you. There's no easy way to remove those trees. TNT doesn't really do it. It leaves blocks in the air. If you do it with fire, same thing. So we're gonna have to chop these trees down lumberjack style with axes to be efficient, because the amount of floating blocks that you have to deal with over like I think the space we're doing here is like 1,000 by 600. It's just enormous. You're flying around all day looking for blocks. I've cleaned out a lot of it, but if you look around, you can see there's a lot of blocks still floating around in the area. But this machine is probably, well, let's just say I have a love and hate relationship with these flying machines. Newer ones have come out that will actually lower themselves as the job is being done, but they use a lot more TNT. And I already have this built. I'm just going to finish it like this, I think. Oh, check it out. This is where the Warden farm was. We just let it get destroyed by the TNT from above. But that was a Warden farm right here. And I have an on-site, I think it's 50 chest sorter. We're using a lot of different blocks for the restoration. I don't think I've mentioned it, but we're actually restoring the ancient city, as you can tell. We found a content creator that has some schematics on what the buildings, different buildings would have been like, so we're kind of copying that and then adding our own style to it. So you'll see that throughout the video. And also check this out. I was using charged creepers as a mob switch, but they got away and that didn't work out very well. So I have like this little makeshift mob switch out of just slime, and they're just jumping around in there with some chickens. And I don't know if that's enough, but there's no mobs here, so it must be enough. And this next one is probably my favorite. This is a dual density mob farm, and mob farms are my favorite in general. I've built dozens of different variations of mob farms, and this one is probably my favorite. It's my own design. Basically what I've done is I've used a spawn sphere from Foxy No-Tell to show me exactly all the spawnable spots, and then I have water flows coming in opposite directions, pushing down to a single water conveyor that leads to 3 different kill sites. And I'll show you them here because this farm is not very built, but I've got 2 of the kill sites set up, and I used magma to kind of kill them a little bit. This was definitely inspired by Silent Whisperer, but the design overall, the spawning spaces, is my own. But so yeah, so the mobs get killed, and then it's going to run all of the drops and XP over there. The XP will be separated and moved to the player, and we do that by using 4x sorters that I like to use for these high, these high octane farms. I use it for the gold farm. I actually have a video out on that. You may want to check that out. Did a gold farm restoration, and that one's running really well. But I have to finish this one. I got more than 1.5, more than halfway there. I just gotta finish this up, and it's kind of a pain. It's a lot of placing scaffolding, and I would say placing scaffolding is my least favorite thing in the world. But when it's done, this is gonna produce a ridiculous amount of product. So I'm killing the spiders without looting mostly, but some of them get killed in the trident killer, so it applies looting 3. But it does, because I have this exact same farm in a creative world, and it's doing, I think, 10 stacks of gunpowder per hour, which, a lot of YouTubers will claim higher rates on other farms, but it's all BS, because I've built the farms and they don't perform that well. This is the highest performance one that I've seen so far. Because yeah, you have a creeper farm, but then it's producing slowly. I'm getting all the drops. I'm getting all the string to trade with the villagers. I'm getting all the arrows. If you care about that, I don't, but I'm getting it. Yeah, I just love this farm. Gotta finish it. Can't wait. But also the gold farm, right? But you guys don't want to hear me talk about the gold farm. I got 2 videos on this. You guys can just watch the video, right? Well, if you made it this far, you obviously like the content, so please consider liking and subscribing. It really does help the channel a lot. And we got a lot to do, so I hope to see you there. And see you on the next one.